Welcome back to the final episode of the CERTS podcast. If an IT decade is 3 years, how does a CIO write a 5-year strategy? In this episode, John and Nick continue their discussion around digital transformation, innovation, and the future of remote working. Let's dive into part 4.
So a few years ago, I was talking to a colleague, and they said, we thought we'd bought a car with central locking and leather seats and, everything. That's what we thought we bought. But what it turns out what we bought was just the chassis.
Yes.
And I was thinking of that, that phrase, our system will give you a blank sheet of paper.
Yes.
And it's kind of like, for me, that is the terror moment for someone in engineering. But in business, it feels like, oh well, yes, that's what we want, because we want this to fit like a glove. But then it turns out in many businesses, no one really knows what the really detailed end-to-end operational processes are. Because
correct.
They say that operational knowledge walks on 2 legs. It's in the walls. Some of it's written down, but it's all of that, yeah. And so if I had the choice for blank sheet of paper or look, we've got something that we think is a model, that you can then adapt, I'd go for the model. But I mean, have you got experience of blank sheets of paper or the model or any?
Completely.
Yeah.
I mean, I love the car analogy. I've used it myself, and actually, sitting in meetings when you're using the car analogy and the penny drops is, what do you mean? We've got 4 wheels and a chassis. We haven't got the engine. We haven't got the doors. We haven't got the interior. We haven't got the steering wheel. What have we got? And it's right. I didn't realise that. This is where I love low code, no code. But the low code, no code, blank sheets of paper that actually empower, the business can develop their processes. We have a core set of processes that's hit, but actually they can actually then build on top of that themselves, similar to using Visio, and yet you still have a engineering technical team that I suppose you might as well call top and tail it.
Yeah, give them some guardrails.
Correct.
But not in an imposing way, but in a literally guardrails. So we just keep you safe. But then they're not saying, Nicholas, when are you going to get us this thing written for us? And you're saying, look, we've got a big backlog at the moment. It's going to take a few more weeks. It's literally, you're just out of the way. You're getting tech out of the way of the business. And then off they go. Yeah, I totally agree with you.
And I think I say there's some fantastic products on the market, that have also now building in AI, but it's also, these products are, seamless digitally and able to be published externally or internally to an organization, or stopped seamlessly with a click of a button. And the power is transformative in terms of some of these systems. And
I mean, so it's analogies. It must be Analogy Friday, everyone who's listening. But do you want to get your football team? Yeah, do you want to get the best striker, the best midfielder? Obviously, they've all got to get on. Or do you want to hire a player that just wants to dominate every position on the pitch? Because this is when you talk about these big platforms that are starting to get the low code piece, they want coverage. Whereas I'm more interested in folks who want to be famous for being really good at this discrete set of things. And by the way, I can play with other great people on the pitch. Do you know what I mean? It's almost like, I won't name names like yourself, but I've spoken to some product folks, and we've actually suggested that they extend. Yeah. So we talked to a midfielder and said, maybe you want to get out on the wing a bit more. And they've actually said to us, that's not us. And it was a real lesson to me. It was like, and actually I came away thinking, those guys really know what they're doing, what they're good at. And they kind of stopped me from kind of imagining kind of some sort of Frankensteinian, works for me, doesn't work as a product for anyone else. And I really respected that. I think other meetings, folks might have just said, yeah, we'll do it, but more with an idea of, let's get the works order signed,
Yes, completely. Yeah. We've got to fly with a lot of cover. Like say the works order, tick off at every single stage instead of having people who are outstanding in certain roles and certain positions to help that can guide, deliver
Yeah.
provide the gear rails and support, but
Yeah.
actually work immensely well as a team.
Yes.
And I guess you look at it of a little bit like a box. I think the four corners. I've got true people that are in terms of really specialising in experts in those areas,
Yeah.
and the box is filled with people who are enthusiastic generalists and want to do a lot of things, and it's all bubbling away inside. And actually, these four are the corners and the guide rails to help them shape them what they want
Yes.
to produce that cube and make sure that cube is solid to use, and that's where the strength comes, I think, in terms of having the key people in the right areas to go, not afraid to go, no, that's not right for this circumstances. And
Yes.
somebody else says, well, I agree, but actually, it works for me. But actually, what do we need to work for all the 4 points instead of having a and there is a lot of people that organisations that want, I suppose, the old Ajax football team where everybody can play in every single position, including goalkeeper.
Yeah.
Um, but a lot of times these days, sometimes it doesn't work,
Yeah.
and I know that the resource market looks at in terms of where you've got specialists in special areas, and there are a premium, but you don't need hundreds of them.
Yeah.
You need strategic ones.
And you need them at the right time. Yeah,
Correct.
because I think we
Yes.
said this before. If you getting things sorted out early on is a lot cheaper than getting it sorted out at the end. So
Yep.
really invest in your design.
Yep.
I hope I'm not repeating myself, but one of my rules is if someone's escalating, I listen very carefully to what they're saying, and if what they're really saying is we don't have a design, I'd say, well, let's have a design session, because there's no
Yep.
point shouting at someone to design something quicker, or why haven't you delivered the XYZ? Well, we actually
Yeah.
haven't even got a bill of materials, or
Yeah. We don't understand the requirements.
yeah.
It's not being expressed correctly.
But I think that's a bit of a tuned, you need to listen in, you lean
Oh,
into what's
completely.
actually being
Yeah.
said, and you're saying, okay. And also then you need to work out that actually designing something is done best in a really good collaborative atmosphere, not with
Yep.
folks with their hands in their pockets staring at the team, kind of, when's this going to get done? But I mean,
Yeah.
okay, cool. Well, look, we've covered a lot on digital transformation there, and it's a never-ending topic. There was a
Well,
little bit on innovation, which I wanted to run past you.
yeah.
I don't know if you've encountered innovation teams. I think there was a sort of a phase where business needed to move fast, and innovation teams appeared, and technology supported those innovation teams, but they very, very rapidly filled up. Their hopper filled up, because
Yes.
if you've got no backlog, no legacy, and there's a team of you, you can deliver something very quickly. And then you start to hit the realities of, how does that get supported, and
Yes.
is it a good strategic fit for everything
Yes.
else? And I was just wondering, we still need to get innovation, yeah. So this isn't
We do.
I'm saying absolutely, but I'm just, those early days, that was kind of happening, and I'm imagining folks who are listening now who haven't done innovation, who might be thinking, let's get an innovation team. Nicholas, what's your kind of experience?
Yeah, I've run a couple. In terms of organisations, way I look at them is that they are key disruptors, but positive disruptors, and they're great at challenging, using the why question an awful lot, but in a positive, supportive, and collaborative manner, and bringing people on that journey. It's not about that's wrong. This is what we're going to do in terms of type innovation. It's again, how do we constantly push the needle to the right and keep it moving to the right in terms of positivity overall, and they bring and harness the good across multi different skill sets, so
Yeah.
technology, data, people, process, to understand, and they are the ones that I guess fill all the cracks and flow through the cracks and bring it and hold it and gel it all together, but actually the ones that key challenge and have got a generally positive, inquisitive mind in terms of moving an organization forward and challenging from innovation. And it's always about, well, what if? What if we did this? How about if we did that? And I guess that they are the ones that help challenge and focus that thinking and how
Yeah.
they develop that thinking in an organization. To I'm a great believer that you know no idea or suggestion is stupid, and but these teams actually help focus those ideas and questions and thoughts within an organizations to channel them into things that actually are achievable. And it's also, these innovations teams need to, be able to think outside the box and look outside your market sector.
Yes. Yeah.
You probably are the same as me, John. I'm a great believer of why only stick in your own sector? Learn from everything else. Everyone else that's done it before. Can we adapt? Can we develop? Can we move those things forward
Yes. Yeah.
within our environments to
Yeah.
accelerate
Yeah.
that innovation and
Yeah.
process and development and transformation? And that's how
Yeah.
I've used innovation teams, and that's how, in terms of, I think they've, most businesses are receptive to it.
Yeah.
Um, as long as you've got the right people with that right mindset and skill set
Yeah.
of why, collaboration,
Yes.
challenge, etc.
And to link that to what you were saying earlier, so I was coming at it from a more of a like the practical. The innovation team has disrupted. They've got a really good case. They want to write a system, and then the kind of that's when they start to build up potentially a bit of technical debt. When you were
Yeah.
talking about the low code, and you and I were talking about getting tech out of the way, so if you've got a low code environment with guardrails,
Hmm.
the innovation team can really run as fast as they want. Do you see what I
Completely.
mean? So
Yeah.
that's where it's an interesting one, because there's some tech to put around it to give them the ability to go fast, yeah,
Yeah.
and then they can do it. But if you have the go fast without that ability around it, it can become a source of frustration.
Yeah.
So it's sort of interesting how those two things are coming
Yeah.
together.
Completely. I say if we give them the safe area to develop in and challenge with themselves, and and let's face it, it's we get into the realms of prototyping where we go away and we build and we develop and with things, and we might actually work things through, and we might have 10 that are really good out of the start with 25 or so in terms of
Yeah,
where we're going to be, that actually can be put into a service and have routes through to delivery, meaningful for the business, a supportable,
yes,
and manageable overall, but
yeah.
give a platform to continually learn from and move forward.
Yeah, and on your stupid idea point, there's no such thing as a stupid idea. I agree. I think stupid ideas, if they're perceived to be, are ideas where you don't know where the other person's coming from. They're
Yes.
very rarely genuinely stupid. Yeah, and I think the other thing is in you as a leader, you've got to make sure the ideas are encouraged, and if someone doesn't get it, you almost need to push harder on their behalf to get that idea
Yeah.
circulated, so that they'll come up. Because if you think about it, if you're in a big team and someone says, "What about such and such?" and everyone just says, "That's a stupid idea,"
Yeah.
they've probably at that point decided they're going to leave. It's just a case of I'm out of here. This is yeah. So it's a really, there's so many things around that. There are obviously genuinely stupid ideas, but what we're saying is it's a very, very small number. And
Yes.
even if you had a genuinely stupid idea, you probably want to reflect on, you know, the way you've set up because you set the tone, don't you? So
Correct.
it's
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
stupid ideas, or the way people suggest stuff, can be a very important feedback to the leader about the tone that you're setting and whether you've got getting the best out of everyone.
I guess one theme that through all the discussions we've had, John, is developing is the type of resource you have and type of mindsets within that resource as well, in terms of overall, and
Yeah,
the expansion of people and how they want to move forward and do. But you're right, if we don't set it up right and have that, people have that framework and guardrails around the innovation, then
yeah,
we as leaders, we're at fault for creating certain situations.
yes, yeah. And on the kind of having the innovation teams and giving everyone the ability to go fast, for me at the moment, this is a very sort of recent sort of view of mine. I think the writing of prompts for generative AI is sort of a moment in history where anyone with access to ChatGPT, or sorry, not others are available, an LLM, yeah, sorry, apologies, but an LLM,
Yeah.
have the opportunity to sit down and really have quite an amazing sort of journey over even a couple of weeks in terms of the more specific you write your prompt, the more amazing the outcome occurs. You can get prompts that are iterative, yeah. So they keep
Yeah.
asking you questions, and then when you say done, they write the prompt, and then you fire the prompt. Those are sometimes called prompts of prompts, that sort of thing. But for me, that really, I mean, it's not even like here's your low code, there's your environment, and all the rest of it. You've obviously need to make sure that's happening within guardrails, because you don't want
Yeah.
people prompting for things that are, offensive, just the usual things that we don't want appearing in email or any kind of business communication. So you have to choose your platform carefully.
Yeah. Yeah. I completely agree in terms of how we prompt, but actually, as we move forward and it prompts us, you know, it's a constant evolution of the original prompt potentially. And
Yes.
is that still relevant to where we're going on the journey? Is actually the prompts that we've asked and challenged of our journey
Yeah.
actually, it's our thoughts or the
I know.
challenging around our evolution of our thought process and where we actually want to be, and what is the, I guess it's a it's based on the original six whys, I suppose, in terms of you have to why enough,
Yeah.
six times supposedly, that you actually get down to the true answer or the true question in terms of you want.
But at that point, this is where I get my logical nosebleed, which I get frequently in this job, which is you could probably, or not probably, I'm absolutely certain. In fact, I might do that this weekend. That's how sad I am. You could write a prompt that does the 7 whys.
Yeah.
Do you see? And then depending on what answer you give it, on the whys, it could then construct, and then you could get it to construct another set of whys. So, and
Yep.
when I mean, I don't mean a prompt that asks you why 7 times, Nicholas. I think we could do that probably without
Hmm.
generative, but I mean why dot dot dot. So the context.
Yes.
There you go. You heard it here first. Nicholas and I are just sort of developing new. We've got the the copyright on that idea. No, not at all. So look, we covered as is our approach. Is kind of quite an eclectic group of things, but
Yes.
that is the nature of the beast. But I did have one other area
Mm.
to sort of talk through, and it's reasonably well trodden, and we don't have to go through the kind of the we probably need to mention the pandemic a little bit, but just how remote work and collaboration tools, there's such a thing
Hmm.
now. We're using one right now. Everyone saw the massive adoption in the pandemic and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
So I didn't kind of want to go back to that because everyone's been on that webinar. But I was just wondering, Nicholas, whether you're seeing anything new in workspace collaboration, whether you think it's maturing or if it's becoming the negative elements. Just kind of, we're thinking ahead 3 years.
Yeah.
What
I think
what's your view on that?
I think you know the challenges are now, John. I think we're at a tipping point. We've come out of COVID. Everyone, work from home. Technology had to advance. I mean, look at the evolution of video call technology. Let's put it that way, frame it that way. In terms of the two big players in the market, absolutely one's race to the top, the other one that was the mainstream having to play catch up significantly. And those collaboration teams of you know um, dictation in terms of through the calls, recording, annotation while you're on calls and everything else. It had to advance, and it's advanced greatly. And AI has also been coming into those elements now. But I think there is some issue, socio-economic in terms of tipping points now, where we've seen a lot of organisations either downscaling their large headquarters in certain parts of the city in London for one, as well as around the world, but also some big organisations laying down strict rules of you've got to be in the office 3 days a week or 4 days a week or need to look for a new job. We know some of the big prominent voices in the world of technology, and entrepreneurs are laying
Yeah.
those laws down. And I think I'm always a great believer of balance. Some things, even with the advancement of collaborative workspaces and ability to whiteboard and free thinking in terms of on stream, online. Sometimes it's good to get sentiment from face to face. Sometimes in terms of feel that interactions and that positivity and bounce off each other. It doesn't have to be all the time. But I think sometimes that helps during difficult situations and transformation, especially. Um, but I'm a great believer of the, if you don't need to come in, why are you coming in?
Yeah.
Well, we can do all our role, we can collaborate, we
Yeah.
can work where it is, but sometimes it's great to touch base from workshop sessions, bring people together, and the social
Yeah.
well-being element that you have as a leader have responsible for is an
Yeah.
important thing. But it's just, I think it's sad that there is a trend in some countries and some organisations that it's becoming mandated that you have to be back in the office regardless of all the advancements. And I do think that is an investment in terms of their bottom line on accommodation buildings that they own, or real estate in terms of high costs, in terms of maximising and
Yeah.
benefits and writing some of that down. And
Yeah.
but I think these organisations that spring up and do collaborative workspaces, I think are great as long as there is, you understand that there are certain things that you probably don't want to run in those kind of environments. But those collaborative workspaces, open workspaces, I think are fantastic. And
Yeah.
the o- I think the true thing that makes it positive for me is when you walk into somewhere like that and you get that, there's that underlying hum and that noise of the energy you
Yes.
feel, and you think,
Yeah.
great, we
Yeah.
can build on this, you can do that, you can learn.
Yeah.
And sometimes it helps build relationships of
Definitely.
cross organizations you might never even think of.
Absolutely, Nicholas. I'm sure, and this isn't to cast any aspersions, but you and I have definitely walked into a good pub, but we've probably also walked into a pub where we thought, might just have a half, and let's,
The
I'm
tumbleweeds
I'm
blowing through
just
the
trying to
bar.
bring it to life. But offices are like that as
Yes.
well. You can feel whether people are in there and they're doing presenteeism versus actually everyone's come here. They haven't seen each other for a week in person. They're there for a purpose. They've got they've also, there's a bit more discipline about organizing your diary and everything.
Yep.
When I was working with folks Monday to Friday, I didn't every day go, wow, I'm so glad I met Nicholas today. It wasn't every day. It was bump into you, with you kind of took it for granted. But if
Yep.
it's a we're going to meet, it's a workshop, we've cleared the decks. It's like, and we might have a jar or two afterwards, that sort of thing. It's like actually, this feels a bit more like we've had an away day.
Yeah.
And I mean that in a really
Completely.
positive way. I don't mean that in a we put our feet up. I mean, we actually got lots done and all the rest of it. One of the things I was going to say around the tech bit, which I think is really interesting, is without the pandemic, I'm not sure you and I would be able to convince an organization to install microphones. I'm not sure we
Yes.
would be able to tell the exec you need to, even though you're all in the same room, you should have Teams open because other tools available. But you've got your whatever transcription tool you've
Yep.
got, that should be open so you can get minutes written. I'm also not sure, Nicholas, how good we all were at writing minutes and actions. Yeah.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
so
Completely agree.
so it's really interesting. I know people talk about the adoption because it allowed us to communicate and get through adversity, which is absolutely right. But I just think there's this other bit, which is, I've got, people are really literate now in terms of what you can do on these, and they're very open to,
Yep.
let's do that. The other point I was going to make is presenteeism is as bad as absenteeism, because in both
Yes.
scenarios the person's not really there.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
you've what you've done is you've met the target and missed the point. You've got everyone in, but they're not, and it's probably the wrong people. You haven't coordinated it.
Correct.
So I think we've got a way to to run on that.
I think there is more to do,
Yeah,
John. A lot more to do,
yeah,
and possibilities, and having more dynamic spaces and that interaction, and
yeah,
like saying some better tools around developing thought processes, and
yes,
mapping things out to how we
yes,
can collaborate it, and that he's more visual and
yes,
interactive. But
yeah,
I guess the next advancement's probably going to be, and I think we both should take claim copyright on this, is your virtual meetings in terms of true headset reality where
yes,
we present ourselves. I
yes.
think that's some of the next
I agree.
position in terms of how you're able to model things in meetings and
Yes,
work things through.
I agree. But I think I mean, you just said it. I just agreed. So I think you probably own the IP on that idea. So look, we've covered loads. It's been a real pleasure, just like last time, and really appreciate talking through all of these points. I think one of the takeaways for me is you can't plan for 10-year horizon. It's impossible. 3 years is challenging. So you're trying to make your decisions as resilient as possible. And you and we haven't given out, I don't think we've given out very many golden rules like you do this in all instances. We've done a lot of, not it depends, but having approaches that are highly adaptable,
Yeah,
and actually reducing as much as you possibly can the number of super tankers, or at least how big they are.
yes, yeah,
Or if you're going to have
yeah,
a big one, try and get extra engines on it so you can turn it quicker and stop it
yeah,
faster. Sort of re-engineer the
exactly.
super tanker. Yeah,
Exactly. And obviously, I've said earlier, John, I think the one thing that is also clear is that having the right people and
yeah,
with the right mindset
hundred
to
percent.
support these strategies and development, let's say. But probably a strategy, a 1.5 year strategy
Yeah,
that has agility. Yes, it's
yeah,
got super tankers in, but they're more the 3 year. But you've got to have agility built into it. We know with COVID that the markets change from a technology, people, business perspective, and
yeah,
you know I think that's learnt,
yeah,
answered and developed a lot of questions
yeah.
for strategy development overall.
Yeah, just your people bit that you just said just sparked me off with a view, which might be, if I had the choice of good technology with a bad team or bad technology with a good team, I'd take the good team every day of the
Yeah.
week because I know
Yes.
we'd sort the tech out.
Yeah.
Whereas if I get the other option, we'd start off with something good that would gradually
Yep.
waste away and turn into
Completely
dust.
agree. Completely agree. Yeah. You can always work with a positive team to create something really positive that's ground, breaking, or, fundamentally changing. But if you start with a poor team, it's going to take a lot longer, and you're only going to regress.
Brilliant. Well, so Nicholas, thank you very, very much,
Pleasure.
and
Thank you.
I shall sign off for both of us.